Guys, Rob and George here with you, aka VHS82 apostrophe with Can It Be episodes 41 and 42. Remember I said we tie them together since it is the only time Space 1999 offered what was a part 1, part 2, and this is of course The Bringers of Wonder. Maybe should have been retitled The Bringers of Death, because really that is what they are bringing. Wonder for a moment, but death in the long run, whatever. Also, too, an interesting piece of trivia with this two-parter. Since it was a two-parter, apparently they redid the opening intro and with and the music and everything, and edited the two pieces together for a theatrical release in Europe. Now that must have been pretty cool. Aside from some continuity errors, which we continually have seemingly with every single one of these episodes in year 2, compliments of Freiberger, who really could care less. Although, it's sort of, it is what it is. His main thing is to squeeze out another full season. And if there is a third season, this is Freiberger's doing, of course, but one longs for year 1, when the episodes were given so much more attention and just really good writing. But here's one of those, if you just turn your brain off, as Muir says in his little commentary right up on this, if you could just turn things off, it is a very enjoyable episode. I actually got a kick out of it, and I often wondered as I was watching it, especially if you get to one certain spot, did John see this episode? Was he impacted by this episode? Because there's something that happens in there that had me thinking they live pretty much the entirety of the rest of the episode. So basically, what do you have with the Bringers of Wonder? John is off, Koenig's off on a routine flight with his Eagle, and as he's flying near the nuclear waste dump area, he starts to fly extremely erratic. No one knows exactly what's going on. He's acting like an absolute nut job. And then his Eagle ultimately ends up crashing. You find out later that your antagonists for the episode have deliberately attempted to try to kill John Koenig, because they understand that he is, the captain, and a strong, courageous leader of Moonbase Alpha. Of course, their attempt fails, and no one on Moonbase Alpha understands that there's anything devious going on. But it does beg, there's two continuity errors that, Muir mentions, and as I was thinking about it, yeah, they're pretty obvious to it. But there's another continuity error that I don't think Muir does mention in his book. Oh man, we've been through other episodes, and back in year 1, I think by now John Koenig has earned the right to lay something out. As crazy as it may be, he has earned the right to be believed. And yet here, again, in spite of history, we're not going to give any belief to him at all, because we're going to rely, and this is where year 1, I miss year 1. There was that philosophical bent, right? And there's a bit of philosophy in this Bringers of Wonder parts 1 and 2. The idea is it better to live in basically, it goes to the Matrix, right? Is it better to live in the Matrix or in the gritty real world, knowing that you're living in the real world? I guess it could be a temptation for some, but John is, he's saved from the Eagle. He's brought in, and his condition is such that Helena feels the need to apply an experimental sort of mind-brain therapy. Now, what she doesn't understand is she's applying this experimental therapy. It is actually giving him immunity to the mental control that this alien race, the ones who will suddenly show up in a super swift, that is a developmental, I think, type of eagle that could fly at light speed or whatever, that suddenly it shows up at Moon. Now this is obviously, I've already written spoilers all over this one, so I'm going to continue if you want to unplug, it is what it is, right? These shows are so old. But she doesn't understand that actually what she's doing is actually saving all of them in the long run. In the short term, though, there is the challenge of believing him when that time will come. Now, what happens is the Super Swift shows up and off embarks a whole crew from Earth. Now, all these people in Moonbase Alpha already know. In fact, Tony's brother is one of them, Guido, I think is his name in here. And Helena's mentor, Dr. Shaw, is in here. I think Sandra's fiance, and it's just on and on and on. Except here's part: all these people should be dead in terms of just time that's elapsed, right? As you travel in space and what's happening on Earth, they're so far removed from one another, right? If you want to think through it the right way. And there's another continuity error a little bit later, but and so they welcome him with outstretched arms because what they see is exactly what I've described. In reality, these are hideous creatures, man, and that's what I'm saying. All I kept on thinking about was they live, man. And there's this great. You remember how Roddy Piper's character? Golly, I can't remember the name of his character in here. But I was just seeing if it's here right here at the top. It's not, of course. But Roddy Piper, the first time when he has the glasses on, the first time he sees reality for what it really is. The first time Koenig finally wakes up from his thing, and when he's brought out, now he's excited and hopeful and happy after everything Helena's described, but the minute those doors open and he steps through, it's like Roddy Piper with the glasses on, man. His face just is horrified, and all he sees is these monstrous, hideous creatures. I wish one of them would have had an arm appendage that could have just said, "We have one that sees." It was great though. What's his name? Martin Landau. I'm saying another name. Martin Landau's performance in this Koenig, of course, is absolutely so much fun, man. He so sells it. He is so terrified beyond belief as to the nature of what is happening. Now, this runs completely contrary or conflicts with what everyone else is seeing. Everyone else seeing is their reality. What he sees is true reality. And here again, the main continuity error from previous episodes. He earned the right to be believed, even when things seem nutty to the rest. He's earned it, and yet here, there's no attention to that at all. How awesome would it have been if at least there would have been a side note of commentary or dialogue or something written in where somebody could have at least, who wanted to believe him. Now, Maya, who wouldn't have been aware of those events in year one, she does cast an interestingly suspicious eye, although she never really says anything, but she can't really put her finger on it. But she does sense that something is off here. But they don't really play that up at all, which is, sort of sad, because there could have been a nice bit of dialogue written in where somebody and her, somebody could say, well, there was that time, and he was right then, but there's none of that. And that's unfortunate that we couldn't have more of that. But so Koenig realizes, and Helena I'm surprised, being so scientifically minded, she just doesn't put him down, so he'll be restrained in his bed. These aliens are running amok. Their plan is to basically blow up the nuclear waste dumps, but have the Moonbase the Alphans do it for them, because they're living in a delusion. They don't understand it, so they're gonna send the Super Swift or another ship with a few of them to Earth, and they got to transport them piecemeal. That's sort of the gimmick here. But what they're doing is, while everyone else on Moonbase Alpha thinks they're at Earth, in reality they're at the nuclear waste dump, setting things up for there to be the mother of all explosions, because in the end this alien race feeds off of our radiation, and they want to eat like there is there hasn't been eating in a long time. It's a race that's dying out. And they see Moonbase Alpha as an opportunity, a prime opportunity to get some life back into them. And so this is what they're after in the end. And ultimately, you know, we get to the end of part 1, there is a great cliffhanger. You got one of these aliens that are in there, and you think the alien might kill Koenig, and it just gets up to that moment where it's like, end of part 1, get ready for part 2. And then from there, it moves really quick towards the end. And once Koenig, he's able to actually convince Maya that something's wrong. Maya will go through the experimental brain therapy as well. And when she comes out of it, she will see for herself. And then she will do a transformation to try to infiltrate the group, find out what she can about what they're after. And once all this stuff finally, you know, the pieces fall into the right place, and we're off to the, you know, the final resolution of the show, where Koenig, you know, literally has to go out to the nuclear area and intervene personally, and it nearly comes down to the wire for Moonbase Alpha, but ultimately they are victorious in the end. And so there is that other continuity error in there. There's a where Maya and Helen are trying to convince Koenig. They got a piece of video up that shows the lunar, or the lunar probe ship, whatever, that's carrying Carter and a few others back to Earth. To them, it's that vehicle, but to Koenig, what he sees is an eagle being used, and it's, I don't know, but the continuity error is when Helena and Maya are playing this video, what you see is the ship land by the nuclear waste dump when it should have been landing in New York City. And so that was a huge glaring mistake. And there's a few of those in this, right? But overall, as Muir says, if you just suspend stuff, it is a fun 2-part ride. And I think Martin Landau really, really sells this one. Like I said, the first time he sees these creatures, just the horrifiedness of his face is just an absolute joy to watch and ride to the end. And I wonder, this is too strong of a similarity to wonder if John wasn't a fan of Space 1999 and had that idea lodged in the back of his mind, and delved on that idea for They Live. You know, you wonder, man, you know, the influence of Space 1999 probably is felt so far and wide. We'll never understand its influence completely and absolutely. So anyways, episodes 41 and 42, The Bringers of Wonder, parts 1 and 2. And I can't remember if I said it, but yeah, I did say it. I'm pretty sure I said it, that this was all repackaged up and released theatrically in Europe, and that's pretty cool too. So next up, there is a bit of a weird jump. I am strictly going, you know, by Muir's order, and I think number 43 will be Dorzak. Now that's not on this disc, that's on another disc, but Dorzak will be the next episode that we take a look at too. And that's it. We're at 43. Once we get to 48, it's all she wrote for Space 1999. And I do have a solid idea that I want to leap into, and it's not what I suggested earlier, and so I dare not say what it is, because I would hate for that to go. But I did have a thought, and I don't know, my mind has kind of left that since, and I have another idea that I want to do, leaping off from Space 1999, but I'll leave that out there. Anyhow, as always, we leave these songs off with Go Bills.